Okay, this is one of those topics that like I don't even know where to start, and I've been thinking about like how to approach this without sounding like somehow in like an era of vanity. But like hear me out, because this one's kind of for the girlies, because there's sort of an effect that happens when you start practicing these practices, and your aura is going to grow. And so we're going to have a little chat about what happens when our aura grows. And it is tapping into, it's a 12 body system. The Kundalini works off of a 10 plus 2, but we're activating the radiant body. And the radiant body, you go to your auric field, and then beyond that we have our radiance. And the radiance comes from inside, and that radiance is streamed from the energetics, where the yin and the yang, so the polarization, you cultivate the balance of those two. But the yin aspect is the void, and it pulls in. And so we need to develop this radiant body that is expanding way out into the field, because it will go and find that which you need to attract to you for your dharma, for whatever it is that your purpose is. And we all have that purpose. And so when we activate that radiant body and that magnetism, people are going to come into your field, especially if you're building something. We can't do anything alone, really, for it to be, community-minded or expanded in that way. And so people are going to feel your aura. They're going to feel God. They're going to feel the love in you. And the fact that that love is going to be radiating out of you. And I've gotten myself into conversations that I really took to heart, and I shouldn't have. Because people are going to feel the love that you bring, the love of God, and they're going to think sometimes that it's you. And even worse is the teacher that knows that and wants it to point to them. I'm not one of those teachers. I'm pointing up. And so, but people will point at you, and this is sort of to say that, like, you want to be careful who you put into your field. And that can feel, especially for empathic people, like, you don't want to reject anybody. You don't want to create boundaries, really, because it's like love is free, right? But we have to, and we got to recognize too that, like, as we expand and radiate, that it is going to be a force that brings more people into your field, and more opportunity. And the best way to do that kindly, I think, is just to use your spirituality as your protection. And it works. And then I used to say things like, oh, I have a boyfriend or something like that, like, when I didn't, because it made me feel like this level of protection. And mostly out in the community, it seems to be that if you just say, like, oh, I'm just not seeing anyone right now, or something like that, it's a challenge. And even sometimes you say you have a partner, and it's still a challenge. And I have found saying that, and it sounds sometimes so dorky, but being able to stand in your truth of, I'm on a path that I'm really focused on my inner being and my spirituality growing, and most things start as friends anyways. That's kind of how I say it. And that has brought to me a level of respect that I wasn't receiving, and I'm so grateful. And that's why I want to say that, is like that, like, it's obvious to people when you speak from the truth of your truth. And when we have little white lies, like saying things like, I'm single or not, there's still a bit in the sound current that it's not true. And so you're not going to get the results in the mirror of whoever's in front of you that you might have wanted if we can't just be totally honest. So just to prepare the girlies, like, have something in your mind, like, where you know where you stand on your sensuality and your sexuality, and use the spirit, use the kundalini as protection, because it's really helpful. And I'm gonna make a whole video, and I'm doing a collaboration even with a friend for a workshop on preserving your sacred your sacredness. And that has been so misconstrued in so many ways. It's not to say, like, have a chastity belt on, but it is to say that we know our worth in a way that includes who you want to partner up with. And we can talk about intimacy being casual, and a lot of people need sort of that experience. But I find in this work, and having a lot of friends and practicing abstinence myself, that instead of using that creative energy because it's in the same area, to give and to receive, and use it to create. And when you are like someone that's doing this spiritual work and you are creating, even that will magnetize people and bring people into your field. And I used to just be so protective, and I would be so scared all the time that I would accidentally lead somebody on. And I hate rejecting anything or anyone, and so I would just emotionally avoid, and then I would lose awesome friends that there could have just been the potential for friendship all along if I would have just been straight up. Because it's obvious when somebody's like into you and like you're not. And I wish so much that I would have just stood in my truth and just said, like, hey, I'm spiritual as fuck. And I don't have the space for that right now. But, like, do you want to write music or something, you know? But so I hope that this is coming off in the right way. But it's really a thing that happens. And yeah, I want to prepare us girls to be in your power. And being in your power is beautiful, and it's also attractive. And so how can we do that in a holistic way that is honoring of everybody? And I think it's possible. And it's tricky because sort of the lay of the land out there is this primal, seductress, animal energy where you're, you know, either on the pedestal or you're the prize, and, you know, so-and-so's got to treat you this way, and like the self-worth, the self-esteem stuff is sort of flipped into how can you serve me, and because I'm this. And I think the best way to have high self-worth and high self-esteem in priestess mode is to do it from a grace. It's not to give someone the ick, and to know that if someone is like interested in you, that they could just very much be feeling the aura. I think most of the time they're honestly just feeling like the love of all, and holding so much in your field can feel really good. When people come around you, can feel really, really nice. It doesn't really necessarily mean that you're their person, but you can have teachings for them. And I've allowed myself over the last year kind of to accept that, like, I might just be a good archetype for a lot of my guy friends. And I don't even mind if I can tell that they're interested sometimes, as long as they're respectful, because it's the law of attraction and law of manifestation. So it's like, all right, you can hang out in my field a bit if you want, and odds are you're going to manifest someone really cool that that's better for you than me, because like, I'll help you pull those desires out of you, but like we can elevate that and find you sort of a better partner for you. And then of course there's like, then there's always the loneliness too, because you're like an archetype and not the real thing. And so there's so much to it. I guess I'm rambling now, but have you had experience with this? It's really kept me like from shining my light. It's just like, I don't want people to take things the wrong way, and I don't want to have space for that anymore. So I'm talking about it. So share what you think, your experiences, and as you keep practicing, notice your relationships and your engagements and your interactions, and see if they start to shift as you start to shift and remember more of who you are. All right, namaste. I hope that helps. Satnam.